moment, I get to brag a little bit about our school, which is always a fun thing to do as well. So again, we really appreciate you being here. I want to start our program this morning with some really important introductions, so you can put some names to some faces this morning. So I'm going to start with our division heads, and we'll start naturally in the lower school. So Ms. Mary Beth Burns, and ask you just to kind of give a little wave, a pirouette maybe if you'd like, whatever makes you happy. Mary Beth Burns. Where's Melody? Is Melody hiding on me? Melody McCree in middle school. And serving double duty this morning, both as a new parent and a new division head in the upper school, we welcome Mr. Andy Giles. A couple other introductions. Ms. Amber Cornett is here with our extracurricular program and our after-school programming. So if you have any needs or desires or need information there, Amber is who you need to come to see. We have Ms. Heidi Harrison here from our college counseling office. Ms. Anna Bender is here representing Parent League, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that coming up. Ms. Amy Conley is here, who is representing both, in some ways, both Booster Club and Parent League, so you can tell how involved Amy is on our campus. Ms. Pam Weinberger, and I'll talk a little bit more about Pam's role on campus as well in our development office a little bit later. And Mr. Tom Holodeck, who really is trying to hide back here, our athletic director. And Laura, who basically runs the school, because Laura serves in multiple capacities, one of those being my assistant in the head of school's office. So very, very important stuff. Oh, and Heidi, truly Heidi, come on up here. Brad Large, our admissions director. And we've got two Laura, so it's going to get a little confusing, but Laura also helps out in both the development office and the communications office. So as you can tell, we've got a lot of folks behind the scenes. They're doing a lot of work to make sure that our school remains the best in the area. So thank you to all of you for being here this morning. And again, faces to names important. If you have questions, if you have concerns along the way, these are the folks you need to come to. Certainly, I'm available to you as much as I possibly can be. These are the folks on the front line that are really making things happen on a daily basis. Oh, and Preston. See, Preston hides behind the camera, so sometimes I miss it. But Preston Sparks is our director of communications on campus as well. So the AP wire is the big piece that I don't even start to see, but all the other communications filter through Preston's office as well. So thank you, Preston. Thank you. I knew I'd leave something off, right? Okay, so as I said, one of the reasons this morning is a fun one for us is we get to brag. So you've all made the choice, clearly, to be part of our community. And I know there's some great choices in the community here in Augusta, Georgia, both independent and public school. So what I want to leave you with this morning are a few of the facts, a few of the anecdotes that you may not be aware of. My hope is that you leave here even a little more proud than you may already be, become a member of the Augusta Prep community. So I'll start with enrollment. We last year had a 93% retention rate. The national number last year was 87, 88%. So when you consider the transient nature of our community with both the medical community and the military community here in Augusta, Georgia, the fact that we're at 93% retention for our families is a pretty incredible number. And what that screams to me is that people want to be here. And once they discover what Augusta Prep is all about, which I know many of you are embarking on for the first time, people want to stay. And that's a big statement to me in our community. In my mind, it gets even better when you transition to look at our staff, our faculty and staff. We have 114 people on this campus that make our school what it is. And we had exactly 3 leave us last year. And of those 3, 2 retired, and 1 got into a graduate program at Northwestern that accepted 8 students from across the country. So they kind of had to go. So 3 out of 114 made the decision not to be with us again from a faculty standpoint, which again states that this is the place to be. This is a place where people come, get their foundation established, and they don't want to leave. Now they have to leave eventually when they graduate. I understand that. But people want to be here. And again, that says something. A few quick statistics for you. It's interesting, I heard several things from a college counseling perspective when I was arriving here at Augusta Prep just about a year ago, a little more than a year ago myself. And the 2 things I heard were that it doesn't make sense to send your kids to Augusta Prep if you want to get them into University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, and any other selected schools, because the numbers are no better here at Augusta Prep. So why spend the money? And that, I can tell you, is just not true. So when you look at the numbers, and I want to talk about college admissions, even though I know we've got a lot of younger parents of younger students in the audience this morning, we are a college prep school. And at the end of the day, our job is not This is an important point. Our job is not to get your child into a school of your choice. To get your child into a school of fill in the blank. Our job is to arm your children with the tool chest they need to be successful, yes, in terms of college admissions and college matriculation, but beyond as well. And I can tell you that the numbers would indicate that students who are applying to UGA, for instance, have a better chance of getting into UGA from a school like Augusta Prep than they do others in the area. So we put that to bed pretty quickly. And we talk about the fact that the kids are not just, again, getting into good colleges at Augusta Prep. So last year we have students this fall, literally this week, heading off to colleges like Harvard and Columbia and Duke. Some pretty impressive schools, Princeton. But that's not because we focus on getting your children into a very selective school. We focus, and Ivy's office focuses on getting your students all the way from preschool, all the way through, getting your students prepared to find a great fit in college. So 100% of our graduates are going to head off to a four-year college. We sometimes even forget to mention that because it's such a given here at Augusta Prep. Selecting that school, selecting the good fit for your family, for your students, is an incredibly important part of what Ivy and Marsha, and we all really do. So are we proud of the fact that we've got kids getting into and graduating from very selective schools? Absolutely. But that's not what we're all about. We're about building a tool chest for your kids to head off into the world, part of that world being college. And we've done a pretty good job of that. A couple of the indications that what's happening here at Prep are very effective for you and your families. We are one of 8 cum laude schools here in the state of Georgia. And the Cum Laude Society is a very selective academic society that, again, has allowed 8 schools in the state of Georgia to be part of that group. And there are no others in this area. So we're really proud of that. The other thing that I want to share with you this morning is that we are part of, and this is a real exclusive group, we are part of the Malone Family Foundation. The Malone Family Foundation is a really interesting entity. I encourage you maybe to jump online and learn a little bit more about it than I'll share this morning. But the Malone Family Foundation selected what they felt was the top independent school in all 50 states. And they've given a sizable gift to each of those schools to specifically help students who are mission appropriate, but financially may not be able to participate in the advantages of that school. And they selected Augusta Prep several years ago now as the school in the state of Georgia to fit that criteria. So there is literally one school, one independent school selected from every state in the union to be part of the Malone Family Foundation. And we were fortunate enough to be that school here in the state of Georgia. And I can tell you, being new myself last year, I spent some time this summer at Stanford University with the other heads from the Malone schools, and we are in very good company. There are some impressive people, and certainly some impressive schools that are part of that network. So one of my goals is to find the best way to leverage that network that we've now developed through the Malone network. And we'll be talking more about that going forward too. Another fun stat that I'd like to share with you that you may not be aware of because it's just brand new as of last spring. There's a group called Niche. Niche does some rankings of both colleges, and they've now started doing schools, high schools also, here in the United States. And I believe they do international as well, but we obviously focused on the United States. The Niche group ranked Augusta Prep as the 11th best independent school in the state of Georgia, which is interesting when you drill down a little bit on that. The top 9, literally number 1 through 9, as I'm guessing you may assume, are the big hitters in Atlanta. So number 1 through 9 are the schools like Lovett School, Westminster Schools of Atlanta, the big hitters. Number 10 is Athens Academy, which in some ways is a sister school to us. We do a lot of similar programming with them. And then of course we check in at number 11. One of the things I want to mention to you this morning when we talk about the quality of programming, the quality of people here on our campus, is a term that I've started talking a lot about in our community, which is value proposition. And when you consider the fact that we're ranked as the 11th best school in the state, and those rankings, by the way, are dependent on college applications, college admission, test scores, academically, what our parents think of the community, how involved our kids are, and the activities they're participating in. It's a pretty impressive criteria. And when you consider the fact that the top 9 are in Atlanta, with an average tuition of $24,000. And Athens Academy's tuition is $2,500 more than ours. And obviously there's some benefit to Athens being literally in the shadow of the University of Georgia. And then we check in for our high school tuition around the $16,000 mark. So when you consider that the amount of programming and the academic opportunities that we provide here on our campus, the kids that are leaving our campus and going off and having success not just in college but in life, when you factor that in to those top 11 and then look at it from a value proposition standpoint, it's pretty incredible what we're able to offer this community in terms of, again, programming opportunities. And that's really where I want to focus with you this morning, especially those who have some younger students at home, like myself. One of the things that we really like to focus on here at Augusta Prep is starting literally in preschool and finding ways for you and your children to discover new passions and to discover activities, opportunities that you may not have even thought about being an option in your home. So we have students on our campus that are going to excel academically. We have students that are going to excel athletically, and we certainly have students that are going to excel artistically. But what we really like is for students along that road, along that journey, potentially over a 15-year journey here at Augusta Prep, to experience as much of that as they possibly can. And that is one of the most unique factors about our school. The opportunity that academically you're certainly going to be prepared, you're going to be pushed and challenged, but you're also going to be supported. But along the way, you have the opportunity as a student here at Augusta Prep to participate in so many different things and truly to develop and discover passions that you never even thought were yours in the past. And for me personally, that's one of the biggest advantages to a small independent school with the incredible people, some of whom you've met this morning, supporting and challenging your kids every single day. One of the things you're going to hear a lot about coming out of Preston's office, and certainly from myself this year, is a theme of story. So we're talking about writing, not just writing, but writing and telling a story for each individual student. And the way we like to look at that is that there are multiple people on our campus helping write different chapters of your children's story. You can look at that from a grade level perspective, you can look at it from a divisional perspective, but we're helping both write, and then from your kids' perspective, helping them learn how to tell their story, which is really important. And in my mind, there are 3 authors to every story in this room. Not in any particular order. Those authors would be you, what's happening at home, the students themselves. It's really important we consider our role to help the students learn how to advocate for themselves, to learn how to present material, to learn how to tell their story. And then that 3rd author, of course, is Augusta Prep. And again, some of the people you've met this morning. We've got incredible people, not just teaching your kids subjects, not just working with robotics, not just challenging them to get up on stage or coaching them on the field. What they're really doing is trying to build that tool chest that I referred to earlier, full of skills, full of abilities that those kids are going to walk out of here, walk across that stage as graduates, and they are going to go off into the world and be the incredible leaders that we see as our alumni continue to come back to campus. It's an incredible thing to watch. And we're just incredibly pleased, proud, and honored that you've all made the decision to be here with us at Augusta Prep. It's a special place. I could literally stand here all morning and brag about it. I won't do that, I promise. We'll do that individually if you like, but it's an incredible place. And I'm fairly new myself, so I've finished year 1, entering year 2. So you can imagine during the first year of a headship at a school like Augusta Prep, it was sometimes like drinking out of a fire hydrant. There was so much coming at me. But what that allowed me to do was learn a great deal about what happens on our campus. And I talk a lot about relationships. We are doing everything we can to build relationships with your children, with you as families, and our hope in a program like this morning is that you're also building relationships with each other. So if there's any way we can help facilitate those relationships, please let us know if you'd like to see that. I want to do a couple things in addition to bragging about the school a little bit this morning. I want to present to you 3 different opportunities that we would encourage you to take advantage of to get involved in our campus. I mentioned Pam Weinberger in the development office earlier. Pam's job in a nutshell is to raise money. That's what development offices do. But what I want you to understand is that the annual fund, which is our focus, And we're hoping that we get, again, over 80% of our families, like we did last year, participating in the annual fund. I want you to understand this morning what the annual fund means, what it does, what it looks like, its structure. The annual fund literally is a line item, a revenue stream, a line item in our operating budget every year. So there's a lot that happens on our campus. Well over 80% of our revenue, as you'd imagine, is tuition, net tuition revenue. But a significant portion of that budget is also the annual fund. So when Pam made the connections she did, and people were so ingrained and invested in what was happening on our campus that over 80% gave $300,000 last year, what that tells me again is that people are invested, which is an important statement. But it also allowed us to do some things from a financial standpoint that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to do. There's a lot of work. Those of you who are not brand new to campus this fall have probably noticed that we were able to do some things on campus. We looked at each division and we looked at different ways we could improve. New windows in the upper school. Middle school students don't have to buy their own locker shelves anymore, so all the lockers have locker shelves in them. Lower school virtually has all new carpeting down there. It smells like a new car when you walk through the lower school. It's great. So some of those things we would not be able to do if we didn't have the participation that we do from the annual fund perspective. So if you have questions about how that works further, I would encourage you to ask myself, ask Pam. But we are really hoping that we can top that number of 80+% in terms of participation again this year. We're hoping that you can be part of that. The second way that we'd ask you to get involved in our school community is through volunteer opportunities. And we have lots. You met Amy?
I'm over here. I'm sitting.
She sat.
I did.
Okay, all right. So you met Amy, you met Ann earlier, both Parent League and Booster Club. There are ample opportunities for you to get involved that way. And again, that's a huge support to our school, no question. But it's also a great opportunity for you, particularly as new parents, to get involved and meet other new parents and understand what's happening on our campus. So I'd encourage that as well. And the third way, I mentioned Brad at the admissions office, the third way that I would ask you to get involved is to be our cheerleaders in the community. We're going to spend a lot of time and effort from a marketing standpoint, admission standpoint, getting our story out there to the community. But I would argue in an independent school community like Augusta, Georgia, the most important messaging that happens comes from you and your children. So feel free to stop a stranger at Publix and tell them how wonderful Augusta Prep is. And if you have concerns, if you have questions, don't ask a stranger at Publix that question. Bring that to us. Because truly, our goal, our hope every single day is that we provide the excellent experience that you and your students need to be successful long term. So I'm thinking lifetime. And if there's something missing, if you have a question, we need to know that. I talked a lot about the wonderful things about our school, and I look at it from a statistical standpoint, certainly. But what's really important for me to communicate to you this morning is that in every single individual student's case, we want to look at what's best for that student. So we have wonderful programming that's open to a lot of kids. But as I mentioned earlier, our real passion is to help your kids develop interests and dive into something, get engaged in something that they're going to carry forward with them for the rest of their lives. That's where I think we really make a big difference. We're certainly getting them ready academically, artistically, athletically. We do all that, yes. But it's when we can look at an individual student. And those kids, the 40 kids that graduated last year, when they walked across that stage and gave me a big hug, that was cool because every single one of them was an individual. Yes, they help us with the statistics, and yes, they're put into these programs, yes. That's what we do. But every single one of them was an individual. And I'm confident every single one of them is going to be successful, again, because of that tool chest that they're on when they leave here. The last point for you this morning is to mention a few dates to you. So we're going to have a new initiative on campus this year. My hope is that every one of you and many others get involved. We are going to have a series of programs, and we're going to call them Community Matters. And each program will have a different theme. We're going to do 6 during the course of the year, the first being on September 8th. And each of those programs will be a 7:45 start. We're going to do them over here in the Hall Fine Arts Center. And we'll go 7:45 to 8:30. So it'll give you an opportunity to hop off to work afterwards. And again, each will have a different theme. The first one, we kind of coined administration. And all that really means to you is that you get to hear from me again, which I know you're all very excited about. And what we're going to really focus on, especially thinking about new parents, although we've certainly made some progress on things this summer, we're going to talk from a strategic standpoint about some of the focused initiatives, the growth initiatives that we have in place on our campus, some of which are already in motion and others that we're going to begin to tackle during the course of this year. So I'm going to dive a little deeper than I have in the past into what some of those initiatives are. So we have about 10 specific strategic growth initiatives that we are tackling as a school community, and I want our community to be as aware from a transparency standpoint. We want to communicate to you what's happening in our community. So that's really the focus for the September 8th event. And then watch the AP Wire and all kinds of other communications. But we're going to go October 13th, November 10th, January 12th, February 9th, and March 9th. And again, each will have its own theme. So each of the divisions will have a theme. And I would encourage, for instance, if we do an upper school, which we will, we'll do an upper school themed Community Matters conversation. Just because you don't have a student in the upper school doesn't mean you can't come. In fact, I would encourage you to come, and vice versa. So it's really, for me, I think it's important that we have the opportunity to communicate to our entire community what's happening on our campus. And we're going to do that 6 times during this year. So again, September 8th is the first event, first Community Matters event, and we'll be over here in the Hall of Fine Arts Center at 7:45. I hope you can all join us at that point as well. So I mentioned it earlier, but I'll harp on it again. One of our goals is that you have the opportunity to build relationships with us, certainly, but with each other as well. So I'm going to step aside and give you an opportunity to continue to do so. If you haven't done so yet, I would encourage you to come up and grab some food. There's lots of it. It's good stuff. It smells good. It's really difficult to stand this close to bacon. I'm trying to watch myself. So I would encourage you to grab some food, grab a cup of coffee. Certainly feel free to mingle and chat. I know some of the folks here that you met earlier are going to hang around a little bit too, so if you have questions for them, I'd encourage that. Thank you for being here this morning. I hope to see you again very soon. Thank you.